At this point, the desperation is so obvious it's almost painful to watch. Unrivaled is on life support gasping for air, and yet instead of fixing the actual problems they're back to doing the one thing they've been doing for months, begging Caitlin Clark to save them. It's like watching someone flail around in deep water refusing to grab the life raft, just hoping that somehow miraculously Caitlin Clark will dive in and pull them to safety, and leading the charge none other than Napheesa Collier, who's once again out here publicly throwing out invitations talking about how Clark could still join Unrivaled in the future, how there's always a spot for her, how all they can do is show her what they have and hope she wants in. Do you guys offer her a bag to come join? You guys, yeah, well, I feel like it's just so crazy because the growth that Caitlin has brought to the game, the sheer amount of money that she's like these teams people are having to move their venues for when she comes to play, and she's getting paid like $75,000 a year. So definitely we want to be a part of that change, and that's what we're doing. I think she deserves that. I think she should be one of the top players in the world just for the sheer numbers that she's bringing. So I think that's something that needs to change, and that's what we're trying to do. What exactly is she hoping for? Does she think Clark is sitting at home scrolling through Unrivaled social media, seeing clips of empty bleachers and injured players limping off the court, and thinking, yeah, this seems like a great opportunity for my career? Because that's not happening. Paige, you mentioned Juju. Caitlin Clark, she isn't playing in this first season of the league, but she has said she's open to playing. What is it going to take to get a Caitlin Clark to play next season? I think everything we're doing for Caitlin, I feel like it's just been such a whirlwind coming from college, and all that came with that to being in her first WNBA rookie season. It's just a lot to handle, and there's no break, especially for the rookies. They play for 18 months straight or something crazy like that, just because going from both seasons. So I know she really needed that little mental break from basketball for a little bit, but all we can do is show her what we have. Clark is in a completely different universe right now. She is the biggest thing in women's basketball, maybe even in all of sports at the moment. She doesn't need a gimmicky league built on desperation. She doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. She's already doing everything Unrivaled wishes it could do, except she's doing it in the WNBA, where the actual competition is. Meanwhile, Unrivaled is struggling, and that's putting it lightly. Their ratings are in the gutter, their attendance is embarrassing, their games barely crack 100,000 viewers, and even that's on a good day. And that's not because people don't care about women's basketball, because Caitlin Clark's jersey retirement pulled in 1.1 million viewers, not a game, not a playoff moment, just her existing in a stadium she didn't even have to play, and she outdrew Unrivaled's entire season combined. So what does Unrivaled do? They double down on the Caitlin Clark obsession, pretending that maybe, just maybe, if they talk about her enough, she'll eventually feel bad, and throw them a bone. It's the same play they've been running for months. Remember, when Unrivaled first launched, they tried to act like they didn't need Caitlin Clark. They acted like they were above chasing big names, that they were about empowering women's basketball without relying on a single superstar. Fast forward a few months, and suddenly they can't go 5 minutes without bringing up Caitlin Clark's name. Funny how that works. Napheesa Collier, who is one of the league's co-founders, is out here doing interviews talking about how Clark is always welcome, how they hope she'll join one day, how there's room for her if she wants it. Does that sound like a league that's thriving? If you're at the top of your game, you don't need to beg people to join. You don't need to hope a superstar gives you the time of day. But Unrivaled is built on shaky ground, and they know it. Their entire business model is crumbling. They tried to sell themselves as an alternative to the WNBA, but that only works if people want an alternative, and guess what? Most people don't. The WNBA is growing. Caitlin Clark is bringing in millions of viewers. She's selling out arenas. Fans care. Meanwhile, Unrivaled is out here canceling games because too many players are injured. Yes, you heard that right. They had to cancel a game because they literally didn't have enough healthy players to keep it going. How does that even happen? This isn't high school basketball. This is supposed to be a professional league, and yet they're barely holding it together. That's the league that Caitlin Clark is supposed to drop everything and join. Clark is already set for life. She's got a Nike deal, a Gatorade deal, endorsement contracts left, and right, she's making more money in one season than most WNBA players make in years. She doesn't need Unrivaled. Unrivaled needs her. That's the part Collier and the rest of them refuse to admit. They need Caitlin Clark far more than she could ever need them. Without her, they're a struggling league with no mainstream attention, no real TV ratings, and no reason for fans to care, and they know it. That's why Collier is still out here talking about Clark like she's got a foot in the door. She's trying to plant the seed, hoping Clark will feel some kind of obligation to throw them a lifeline. But let's be honest. Clark isn't dumb. She sees what's happening. She sees Unrivaled struggling to attract fans. She sees their ratings flopping. She sees the injuries piling up. Why would she put her body on the line for a league that can't even fill its own rosters? Clark isn't chasing clout. She isn't in it for the gimmicks. She's in it to compete, and that's the biggest reason she'll never join Unrivaled. Because Unrivaled isn't about competition, it's about survival. They're throwing everything at the wall, hoping something sticks. One-on-one tournaments, weird scheduling, constant media pandering. They're trying anything to get people to care. Meanwhile, Clark just has to show up to a game, and the entire sports world explodes. Unrivaled is living in an alternate reality where they think Caitlin Clark is just waiting for the right moment to join them, but in the real world Clark is thriving without them. She's elevating the WNBA, driving record-breaking viewership, selling out every arena she steps into. She doesn't need Unrivaled to be a superstar, she already is one, and Unrivaled, they're just trying to stay in the conversation. Collier and the Unrivaled execs can keep hoping, they can keep saying there's always a spot for Caitlin Clark, they can keep throwing her name into interviews, pretending she's even remotely considering their league. But Clark's silence speaks louder than anything they're saying, because the truth is she's moved on, and Unrivaled, they're the ones still chasing a dream that'll never come true. Now let's dive deeper into the heart of Unrivaled's failings, the ratings, the injuries, the lack of star power. This is all part of a bigger issue that goes beyond just Caitlin Clark. It's a league built on a shaky foundation, one that can't seem to find its footing in a crowded market where there are far superior leagues to compete with. If they keep this up, they'll be doomed to become nothing more than a footnote in the history of women's sports. Thanks for watching and subscribe my channel.